What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Cloudology. So, did a little work on our Minecraft server, verified that it actually worked, right? So today we're just gonna be doing real light updates. I want to keep this pretty short, but we fixed some of the things that we said we were going to fix, or that I said I was going to fix, and we verified that the server is actually working, which I will demonstrate later on today. But first, we're going to apply some new things. So I'm just going to jump right into it today and not beat around the bush at all. So when we left off, our add user function wasn't working because it was written in JavaScript, right? So I basically rewrote it in Python, and it works perfectly in Python. So that's awesome. What is up, Christian Soto? Christian Soto. Been waiting all day for this. Well, thank you, sir. But you'll probably be disappointed. No big deal. But but yeah, so we updated that add user function, which is pretty critical because I noticed a few problems with it. So when we wrote it in JavaScript, which we had right here, which I believe was the last episode, is that it didn't work because JavaScript or Node or whatever runtime they were using worked off of IPv6, which is just a different protocol in general, right? So what I did is I basically recreated it in Python, and I changed a little bit of how it works. So without going too in the weeds, so this is just basic. Literally, if you compare the JavaScript function with the Python function, it's pretty much the exact same thing. The only difference is Python's a lot simpler, right? So let me just go over some critical changes that I made to this. So instead of appending the current firewall rule, so I actually had this working in Python for a while, for a couple days. The problem it had, I was using this firewall's update function instead of insert. So this was update firewall request, right? And this was an update function. Well, the problem with that is if you don't include the previous IP addresses that connected to the instance or ran this function, it wiped out those IP addresses and just added the person that most recently clicked on our function URL, right? So what I did to get around that is I basically created a new rule for every time that function gets ran. So it doesn't do any checks yet. I kind of want to expand on that and check to make sure that that IP address exists already. And if it does, then it doesn't add another firewall rule. But I verified that this actually works correctly. So we're going to need to rebuild this function with Terraform. And yeah, eventually what I want to do is I want to convert all of these to Python because I think Python works a little bit better with cloud functions. JavaScript does work. However, there's a lot of workarounds that you have to deal with that, quite honestly, I just don't want to deal with. So I rewrote it in Python. So Python, I think it uses Flask on the back end, which is like Python's version of Node, I guess. It's just a runtime environment for Python to run on, right? So you can actually make requests on Python. So because of this, I believe Flask by default uses IPv4, which is what we need to insert an IPv4 address. So, something like 172.10.54.56.12, right? So that is an IPv4 address. IPv6, it's huge. Like it's this huge, like hexadecimal character IP address. But we've got that going for us. So I confirmed that this function works. Another thing we did. So first off, I'm actually going to drag this over here. I wanted to give you guys an idea of how much this costs, right? So this is the current cost. I just had the server running pretty much 24/7, 365. So the server was up all the time. And previously, I had some other projects on here that I just kind of had running. And my total account bill, so I have multiple projects in here that are all linked to this same billing account, right? I was only spending $7 a month to run some Cloud Run things and all that. So our projected cost is about $45 a month in this current configuration, right? So roughly about $1.41 per day. So my goal today is to actually bring that down a little bit. And how we're going to do that is we're going to use what's called I call it a stop-start schedule, but Google calls it essentially a resource policy where you can schedule things to happen on a VM, right, using a cron schedule time. So looking at, this is our existing module that we already had. I just added to it, right? So what I did is I added a resource policy, which essentially just states like, hey, I want to turn the server off at this time, which gets defined in the other file. And then I want to turn it back on at this time, which also gets defined in the main like Terraform file, right? I also added an IAM binding because the service account that is in charge of the compute VMs needs this role right here in order to execute this resource policy, essentially. So I basically just added it to the service account that is already in charge of running our compute VM. So just the default compute VM, default compute service account, right? And that's just making sure that everything has the right permissions. I hope. I haven't actually applied this yet, so we're going to see if it works live. And if it doesn't, we're going to debug live again. And then what I did is I came down here to our compute instance resource in Terraform. And essentially you just have to give it a resource policy, and you just give it the ID. So these references in Terraform, they reference something that is already in this file, right? So basically it kind of works like object notation. So it's going to look for a computer resource policy called this stop start schedule, which conveniently is what we called this resource policy, stop start schedule. And then it needs a certain field from inside of there, and it needs an ID. So we just give this the ID field, right? And therefore it'll apply to our virtual machine. And that's pretty much all I changed as far as the module goes. And then here, basically it needs a region in order to locate your virtual machine, right? Even though it's attached to it, it needs to be in the same region. So we're in US East 4, I believe. So we need to specify that region for our resource policy, right? And then, so I know this start and stop time works or looks really weird, but that's because it's using what's called a cron schedule. And basically, I am not a cron schedule expert. So what I did is I came to crontab.guru, and essentially I was able to play around with these values. And a brief explanation of cron. So day of the week, essentially that's the day you want this to run, and we want this to run every day because we're going to start it and stop it every single day, right? I might figure out a way to adjust this to turn it on earlier on weekends because typically I'm playing a little bit earlier on weekends, and most people are, right? But for right now, during the week, I usually only play like after like 4 p.m., right? So this is our start time of our server. You can specify the month, like if you just want it to start like once a year or whatever the case may be. But for our purposes, it's going to be every day, every month, and every day of the month. So this could specify like, the 31st of, I don't know, January. And it'll actually run on the 31st of January, right? But either way, we just want it to run at 1600 Mountain Standard Time, which is where I live. So 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And that's when the server turns on. And then as far as when it turns off at midnight every night because I'm old and I don't typically stay up past midnight. So yeah, I turn the server off then. Unless it's on weekends, of course, which I'm not sure how to handle the weekends with this resource policy exactly. So that's something I need to look into and figure out. I don't know, so you can attach multiple resource policies. So I think what we need to do here is we need to attach 2 resource policies, right? One for the weekend and then one for every day of the week. So Monday through Friday, which I'll explain that once I figure that out. I just want to test it and make sure this actually works. And then this client email essentially is just the service account that is in charge of our compute VMs. And that is pretty much all I changed. So essentially what I'm going to do is we're going to run a Terraform plan, which I already know this plan's out unless anything changed. Okay, it didn't. So let's look at what we got here. So we've got 3 resources to add, 1 to change and 1 to destroy. So essentially this is going to add a resource policy. It's going to add an IAM binding, which hopefully works. I'm pretty sure it's going to work. And we have to update our compute instance to have a resource policy now. And what we also must do is, since we changed our function, our Python function, it's got to be replaced and rebuilt, essentially. So we might actually have to rebuild the function itself. This is just rebuilding the bucket that the code is stored in on Google, right? So let's apply this and see if it fails. Or from. It's going to give it a YOLO. Auto approve flag essentially just doesn't ask you for confirmation and just starts building it. Resource name stop start must be match of regex invalid. Okay, so the name is the problem for our resource policy. So let's look at that. Resource, it's probably because I used a slash, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Let's do, what does it want? Okay. Yeah, it doesn't like the slash. So we're just going to do stop, and we're going to do capital S for start. And then we're going to do this again. Hopefully that matches the regex now. No. Resource name stop start must match of regex. Does it not want? It will not allow capital letters, guys. Oh, Google. What can we actually call this? Let's just call it schedule. VM schedule. Schedule. I don't know if that's spelled right. No, I don't care. There we go. Looks like it's actually creating now. I'm not failing. Just kidding. Okay. Service account. Okay. Needs to have compute instances start, compute instances stop, permissions applied in order to perform this operation. So did we actually add our service account binding? I thought we did. Service. Oh, did we miss? Let's see. Let's copy this service account. Let's check out our variables real quick. Variables. Yes, we're missing this portion. There we go. Now let's try this. Try to run this again. Let's plan it real quick though. Essentially, I named our service account incorrectly. So yeah, so we've got to update that right there, and I believe it should work then. Said that pretty much every time I ran it, so we'll see. Okay. That is interesting. I don't want it to change the service account though. All right, let's go look at our service accounts. Actually, this always happens every time. That's okay. It's kind of the nature of it. kind of the nature. So let's go ahead and check out I am an admin, service counts. This right here is what we need to look at. Permissions. Okay. Editor. It looks like it's missing that role, although we definitely gave it that role. Pretty sure. Okay. Manage permissions. I swear, what I hate the most about Google is trying to edit IAM policies in the console because it's just awful. It's terrible. Every time. IAM? Maybe? Yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah, so I think it's actually missing the permission. We might need a depends on flag. Yeah, so we only have Cloud Run admin, editor, and service account user. Shoo, I believe we need to come over here. And service account, client email. So that works. Basically, what we need to add a depends on flag here. Depends on, yeah, that actually showed exactly what I wanted. Yes, schedule binding needs to be created first. So basically what we're doing is we're making sure that this schedule binding up here that we created right here gets applied first before it tries to apply any changes to this. And I believe that may fix our issue. Oh, wait. Terraform. Cycle. Are we starting an infinite loop? I think we are. Yeah, we are. Okay. So we can't depend on that. That's interesting. This should definitely work, though. And I don't understand why. Actually determine what it's trying to do first. Okay, so one to add. Yeah, so that's essentially what's happening is it's trying to change the resource policy in order to... So it's doing the resource policy first, but it needs a permission to do it. So basically we got a chicken and egg situation. So what we can do, what if we targeted this module first? So we're gonna play with this a little bit. Terraform plan dash dash target equals, give it a string. See if that works. Okay. I still don't think that's gonna work though, because it's targeting the entire module, right? Christian Soto, let's look at the chat. Hold on. Is Bedrock Minecraft written in Python or is it just for the cloud stuff? I'm pretty sure it's still written in Java. So the Python's just for the cloud stuff. So essentially we have a function that I shared in Tech Tribe chat, Christian. It says like add user in the function name. So basically what that does is when you click on that, it grabs your IP address and adds it to the firewall rule and gives you access to the virtual machine that is running Minecraft. So it actually, if you don't run that function, Minecraft, you're essentially, your Minecraft client on your computer is not going to be able to see the server because it's only for the IP addresses that we add to the firewall rule, right? Or it might see the server, but it doesn't know to let you in because it doesn't see your IP address. Okay, let's see if we can add this role manually, just for time's sake. I think the problem is we are creating admin. It's admin view. This is what we need to add. So let's save this. And let's see if our Terraform works after that. I think it's just a chicken and an egg situation, right? Okay. So let's give this an apply auto approve and see if it likes me now. No. Does it not have that permission by default, that role? Let's see. Full control of compute engine instances. Yeah, instance groups, disks, images, read access with all compute engine networking resources. So that should totally work. If I remember correctly. Compute system IM. Is that the right service account? It's not. Oh. That's the problem. I see it now. So we're giving it the wrong. There we go. Let's grab all of this and go to our variables. Compute system IM gserviceaccount.com. That makes sense. I think I was giving it to the wrong thing. Client email. Let's make sure that that is correct. I think it should be okay. Region, policy binding, service account, client email. Okay. Maybe now. Sure. Where's my terminal? Oh, there's. And maybe that'll work. Let's make sure. Yes. I don't know if I want to change this service account, but we'll find out. Let's see. We might have to change that back. Yeah, so I think the problem is it's trying to modify this instance before it has the permission to do so. So I think what we might have to do, this needs to be var dot. Oh wait. Yeah. This needs to change, I think. Variable stop time. I probably should have tested this before coming on a live stream, but tis what it is, right? Let's do this. Variable service account type string. And we're going to do default null. And then we're going to change this to var dot service account. I don't think that's going to change anything, but we shall see. Okay. Basically, that should avoid changing the server's account on the compute instance. Yeah, so I think the problem is, okay, well now we might be able to do the depends on, since I didn't realize I was using the same deal. So let's do depends on at IM binding. So plan. Nope, still does not like it. I think it's because it's within the same module. So that's unfortunate. But what we can do is we can move this outside of the module, right? So let's do this. We're going to copy this outside of the module. And we're going to throw this essentially right here. And I think we have the VM name somewhere, right? I believe so. Project ID. Where do we have the VM name at? Instance name. Yeah. So we need to change this guy to module dot MC server dot instance name. All right. And I think we can put a depends on flag in here, maybe. Depends on schedule binding. Okay, so essentially, who does testing? We just Christian Soto. Who does testing? We just bang rocks together. Pretty much. That's pretty much how it goes. So I probably actually should have applied this. See, the problem is if I apply this and test it, it already gets applied to the environment, and I don't get to like show you how this works, right? So if I were to just apply this before I even start the stream, it's already done. I'm trying to show you like things that happen like when you're doing stuff like this, just kind of par for the course. Unfortunately, makes a very boring video for those of you watching on the replay. But all right, let's see if that works. Okay, we're getting there. Doom, 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 doom. Okay, so now we just need to figure out. We might hard code this name for right now because I'm not sure. MC server instance name. I think, okay, let's look back here. Resource name. Let's try name. It might just be name. Name. Let's try it. Okay, doesn't have an attribute name. So let's give it the actual name. Yes. Oh, so we need to change the module right here. Yep. What if we did? Okay. So basically, we need to come back here, right? We need to go to our resource policy, and we'll keep it. Why don't we just do this? We'll give it a var.resource policy. We'll give another variable here. So many variables. Resource policy. C. And we'll do type. I think it needs to be a string. Maybe. No. Maybe a map. A list. It needs to be a list. I don't know. To list. Since it's an array, right? No, not list map. Auto formatter is killing me right now. Default. We'll just do an empty array. So, okay. And actually what we need to do, because otherwise it would be an array within an array. Our resource policy, and then in the module, we have resource policy equals this thing right here. I'm pretty sure it's the wrong type, but that's okay. Oh, I think it needs the ID. That's right. That is right. So it needs to be string. Go back and fix that. ID. So when we come back here, this actually has to be a list, right? And we'll come back here. Variables, string, default. We'll just do an empty string. And I believe this might work. Let's see. Let's give it another plan and see what breaks. Okay. Yes. So this can basically go away. We're actually just going to copy this here. So what was that? Start time. Start schedule. And then we'll take the stop time. Essentially, we're just like unmodularizing it right now and putting everything in the main TF function, which probably isn't the best practice for our sake. I don't even know if it's going to solve the correct problem, but we're gonna give it a shot. Stop time is required. Do we accidentally leave that in here? 41, line 40. I don't think we have that in here anymore. Oh, we might have to run. Argument stop time is required. Oh. Well, we did that. Start and stop time and time zone. But it's not required anymore because we got rid of that, didn't we? I thought we did. We totally did. It's not even in the module anymore. Terraform doing Terraform things, right? Or it's probably just me. It's probably my fault. Is it because we have the variables here? That might be why. Let's remove these and see what happens. Region, yeah. Given value is not suitable for child module variable resource policy defined at string required. Is that not a string? Is the ID not a string? It might not be. Where are the Terraform docs at? I don't think I actually have that pulled up. Nope, should definitely be a string. Do we have to define a type? Pretty sure we do. Well, we don't have to define a type. All right. Come on now. Let's see what we got this time. All right. So that schedule is destroyed. None after apply. What are we doing here? 3 to add, 0 to change, 2 to destroy. What do we got to destroy? Stop start schedule. Oh, it got me. It got me, boys. Okay. So, problem is, we're going to have to replace the virtual machine, which I don't want to do because I don't have any type of backups. And I already started playing on that schedule. So, why is it trying to destroy this guy right here? Okay, so we don't run this. So I think we're going to have to make some updates manually here, which I really didn't want to do. But in order to save our instance from getting deleted, because that's exactly what's going to happen if we run that, right? Which I want to avoid doing because people are playing the server, and that would suck. That would just be bad practice. Am I right? So let's see if we can find our schedule in here. Config management, settings, instance schedules. Okay, so the problem is it created the schedule, right? But it's not even attached to the instance. So that's the funny part. Okay, let's read our Terraform again. Why is it trying to destroy our instance, right? What are we changing? The image. But the image should be fine. I'm not sure why the image is changing. Forces replacement. Okay, what else did we change here? And we'll get rid of this. I'm not sure what type I was expecting. I don't think we need this either. Get rid of that. Man, that would be unfortunate. Yeah, it really wants to destroy GCE container data, Google Compute image, Corios will be read during apply. Okay. But that didn't change at all. According to this, it did. But our image did not change. I think it might have to do... No. So we don't even have this applied to anything yet. I really don't want to destroy this. TBH. Let's go with our initialize params over here. I don't even think we have initialized params yet. All right, so this is unfortunate. But I think what we're going to do is we're just going to attach this to our instance manually. So I know, yeah, see, it has that label. I don't know why it's trying to change that, to be honest. But service account needs to have... Okay, let's find the service account and add that permission. So again, this is not the automated way to do it, but I really, really, really don't want to destroy that instance. And I think what happened is somehow with us changing the root module after we applied it, it wants to destroy the instance, right? So we want to avoid destroying this instance because we don't have any backups yet. So I think that's what my next video is going to be, adding some kind of backup. So if this instance gets taken down, it'll basically restore it from volume snapshot, right? So that is what I really need to do. And I think that's going to be next. So what other IAM policies do we have here? This is what I'm looking for. Compute system IAM service account, which I don't think we have actually. So I don't understand where that's coming from exactly. Do we have to add this somewhere? Identity and organization. It's not there. We don't have an organization. Groups is under a group. Nope, we don't have any groups. I know this makes for thrilling content, guys, but this is kind of, it's the nature of the beast a little bit. So let's go back to our compute engine, right? And let's see if we can find this service account. See, I don't understand why it's trying to change the image, because we're using the exact same image, basically. Compute engine system service account. Permissions applied in order to perform this operation. Okay. Let's do some reading here. Let me show you guys what I'm reading, actually. So this is a GitHub issue they opened because they wanted fine-grained control. But realistically, I'm just trying to see, what does this apply to? Step 2, bind permission to compute service agent at VM level. Okay. So, data Google project, GCP project number. Okay. We've already got that taken care of, I would think. This is what we're trying to do in Terraform, right? So what if we just did this? So what if we just targeted this resource, this bind resource right here? This guy, right? What if we did Terraform plan target equals this guy? Schedule binding. All right. Yes, that's what we want. We want to add that. So we're going to change this plan to apply. Okay. Yes. Not going to destroy anything. Not supported for this resource. Invalid IAM policy. Interesting. That literally says over here, if we look at this, it's literally, I did manually type this, so let's make sure that's correct. I'm pretty sure it is, though. Interesting. So either way, we would have applied that and would have not worked anyway, which is kind of interesting. Let's make sure that our variable is correct. Yes. So this is basically targeting our actual compute instance service account that is tied basically it's targeting our compute instance in general, right? So if I apply this, it says it's an invalid IAM policy, but it's definitely not, unless it is. Apparently it is. It's the nature of it, dude. It's the nature of cloud. This is what it's like. Documentation. What is it? What is it? It doesn't even exist. Let's see. Let's check this out. Let's go to the Google machine. This is what I do every day. I'm just a professional Googler, essentially. Not supported for this resource. Okay, so this guy's essentially doing it the same thing. The binding you're attempting to make references the same service account, this time as an identity. This is not possible. All right. Literally writing, more like reading documentation. Yeah. So service accounts have a dual nature, basically, and I don't like that. So service account IAM member. Okay. What if we just gave this compute admin in general? Do I need a V1? We did this. Okay. So apparently it didn't like the V1 for whatever reason. Even though that was in the documentation, it was in Google's documentation that you needed that role. Apparently it does not work. So what if we do a Terraform plan right now? Is it going to want to recreate our instance? Probably. Yeah. Oh, will be updated in place. Oh, I think this is it, boys. I think this is it. This might work. Okay, so it's not destroying our VM instance. It's just destroying our stop start schedule. Ah, I see. So it was part of the module initially. Okay, let's do apply. See if we can get this to work correctly. Okay. The schedule is going to be destroyed. Totally okay with that. The VM is just going to be updated in place. Totally okay with that. And then we're creating that. All right. Let's YOLO this and see if it actually works. I always intend these to be a really short stream, but then some like elaborate problem happens and it ends up being an hour. Okay, so the schedule already exists, which means we're going to have to rename this probably. Create anything else. Okay, it's just changing it. All right. Basically, it's trying to create what we already have. So we'll just do stop schedule. All right. So now I auto approve. It was trying to create the same name, but it was trying to create it before it destroyed it. So that's why it had a conflicting name. It's dumb. I know. Yeah. So the first thing it does, it tries to create the policy or the resource policy. And since we already had one with the same name, because we created it earlier, that's what happened there. It doesn't destroy it until after it creates the new one, which is kind of dumb, but whatever. I think it's because I added that depends on flag, actually. All right. We did it. We finally got there. And that took way, 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 way longer than I wanted. So let's bring this guy over. So we have our instance right here. Let's see our schedules. Stop schedule. Is this applied to a VM? Boom. And there it is. It's actually applied to a virtual machine. Holy Jesus, guys. That took way longer than I intended it to take. But here we are. So essentially, we've got, okay, we don't have everything fixed yet. I just remembered. I got a little too excited. We got to check our function. That should be easy, though. That's an easy fix. We got our schedule to work. Let's check out our source. Okay, yeah, this totally needs to be rebuilt. So we can do that. If we do, okay, we're going to run Terraform state list, and that basically tells us everything that's created, right? And essentially what we have to do, we got to take this add function right here, and we're going to destroy this. Terraform destroy -- target equals this guy. And we're going to see what it's going to destroy. So we're going to destroy the IAM member, and we're going to destroy the function itself, which is exactly what we want. Yes. Give this a second. Writing documentation live. We'll get to that later. We're going to make some updates to our README that I have on GitHub. All right, so we destroyed that. Let's do a plan. All right, 2 to add. We're just going to recreate that function. Apply -- auto approve. Bam. And then we will recheck this function once it's done creating. The function takes a little while. But yeah, so that was kind of weird. I actually don't know why. Okay, I think it's just because it was in the same module. So yeah. Now that I'm thinking back to what happened, essentially, we couldn't apply this, not the binding. So it was trying to create this schedule and add it to the VM before the VM service account actually had permission to allow it to do so. And with it being nested inside of the module like we had it before, so we had it in this file before, right? The problem with that is with this depends on flag right here, it was essentially creating like an infinite loop because it was part of the module. So Terraform, I don't think is smart enough to depend on certain aspects of the module. Now, I probably could have put it in the module itself and it might have worked a little bit better. That's actually probably what I should have done, but I didn't think about it at the time. So essentially, we're trying to do something to the VM. Well, okay. The best way to think about this is the VM was trying to do something to itself, but it didn't have the permission to do it to itself before it was trying to do it, right? It's very confusing. IAM permissions are probably one of the most annoying and difficult things about like cloud in general. And that's honestly, that's where most vulnerabilities come from, is because IAM roles get configured incorrectly most of the time. So it's very it's a very difficult thing to be very good at, and it requires, extensive auditing teams and stuff like that. 100 years from now, some kids are going to make their grandpa a Minecraft server and use this video. God, I hope not, because I hope better videos come along during that time. Just kidding. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the whole intent behind this series in general was to kind of learn along the way about how to improve our environment as time goes on, right? So you don't start with the enterprise level production infrastructure right off the bat. That literally never happens, dude. It's always like, okay, we just need enough to get it running and have it mostly secure. You know what I mean? That should be like your main focus is get it running, get it mostly secure. And then as the environment grows is kind of when you start adding more features to it and start building out the infrastructure in a better way. So yeah, dude, it's really difficult to just think. It's difficult to architect the entire problem your future business is always going to have right from the beginning, right? So that's why when we do these things and you sit here and watch me struggle, this is kind of what it's like, dude. So you start very small, just enough to get it working correctly and get customers. In our case, the people who are playing on the server, which is probably nobody right now, but either way, there's data that is being used currently, right, on the server. So when you go forward, you need to think of ways around just destroying everything and rebuilding it, because it's not always an option, right? Or you need to add certain features on top of it because of it. It's not exactly an option. Like, it's not how you built it from the beginning. So you're going to have to find some unique workarounds. I'll play later tonight. Yes, if you do, if it's past midnight, Christian, unfortunately, the server is going to be shut down because we just added a shutdown schedule. But yeah, we can override it with our functions, luckily. So let's run this. We're actually going to run this add user function. It did work locally. I just want to verify that it works right meow. Yes, it does. Okay, so we added a firewall role. So we got a 200 status code. That's awesome. Let's go check our firewall. Yep, totally just added my IP address right here. So boop, boop, it created this rule. So essentially I just timestamped it. So this was created. I just realized my day is here. It's the weird European way of writing dates. But so it's actually August 10th, which is tomorrow, because this runs off of what time? Universal time code. So technically it's tomorrow already, right? Yeah. So 8/10/2023 at 1:55. So yeah, that's universal time code. So this is the hour, this is the minute, and this is the seconds, right? Sick. In mountain time, so you still got time. Yeah, I think mountain time's kind of convenient because it's actually Eastern time it would be 2 a.m. when it stopped. And if you're playing Minecraft into 2 a.m., you plan on pulling an all-nighter at that point, right? So yeah, I think mountain time's a good time in general. Downside is Eastern time, it starts a little bit later, so it'll start at 6 instead of 4. But all right. Now let's actually see, or rather, we're going to open Parallels. We're going to open it over here. So in order to run Minecraft Bedrock on Mac, you have to run a Windows environment, which pains me to do. But Parallels is actually a really good software. Unfortunately, it's open in the wrong window. Hold on. Let me drag it over here. Unfortunately, it's also $100 a month, so I'm running on a free trial right now, actually. But I think I might do a one-time purchase of the software, and I just don't get access to updates, which I don't really care. But let's actually verify that this works correctly. I know it does. But anyway, the reason why I like Parallels is it basically mirrors your or like your underlying file system and everything on top of Mac. What I thought Mac used Bedrock. The iPad version should be the same. MacBook itself only runs Java Edition. For whatever reason, there's no MacBook support for Bedrock Edition. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. But yeah, if you didn't know, now you know. So basically what I did is I just installed Parallels, and then I grabbed the Windows operating system ISO file. And I can do a tutorial on how to download Parallels too, but there's actually really good videos out there already, which is how I learned how to do it. But yeah. TLDR, you got to run Windows to run Minecraft. Dude, do you like this? Do you like this fucking username? This is my Xbox username from when I was probably like 15 years old, dude. And I've never changed it just because I need to embrace the cringe, dude. So I've already got my server added here. It's locating it. So let's see if we can connect to this external server. Takes a little while because I'm in Mountain Time and it's in the East Coast, the server itself. So bam, we're in. We didn't lose any of my data because I still have my shield in my house inside of the mountain here. So this is what I was talking about. This is actually running. So people are using this. I'm using this. Christian Soto might be using this later tonight. But yeah, so this is it. We verified it works. Now, this is now a Minecraft live stream. The learning to code part is over. That's me dying. I'm going to go over that. I have no armor or anything like that. I couldn't find iron for the longest time. But yeah, so this is actually running on GCP. It's costing us $1.41 a day. There we go. I'm going to get distracted now. I'm a terrible streamer, like when it comes to gaming. I tried a couple times, like I was playing Escape from Tarkov, and it is not a game that's easy to stream. So props to you guys. But anyway, I digress. Is that a horse drowning? It might be. Mine is still Mage Wolf 123 from the 7th grade. Hey, at least it's a little less cringe than like XX Buzzkill 77XX. You remember that, guys? You remember putting like usernames with like the 2 X's? Yeah. That was the drowned zombie that lives underneath my base. So I just decided to like create a base next to like one of the most annoying enemy mobs in the game, because they spawn during the day too. So yeah. But anyway, essentially what we did, just to recap, is we fixed our add user function. So now it adds a new firewall rule for every time you click on the function, which we still need to do cleanup rules for that, but today ran a little bit long, so we'll do that next time. We also added a schedule for the VM to shut down at midnight Mountain Time and restart at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. So that's going to help us save a little money. And I'm going to let this run for a couple more days. Well, until next week. So we'll see the actual update in the billing. Hopefully it'll come down. Ideally, I'd like to cut it in half. Maybe I'd do $20 a month to run a server. We do have to add another schedule. So we're going to add 2. We're going to modify the one we currently have. And then we're going to add another one that changes the times for weekends. So the server is going to be live longer on weekends, basically, is what I want. And okay, I did want to show you. Hold on, let me exit Minecraft really quick. What I did want to show you guys is the plan I have going forward for the series. And I know, there's not going to be a ton of people watching at this point, but for those of you that are, I'm going to bring up our code again. Actually, I'm just going to show you the README. Okay, so here are the action. I'm actually let's do a preview of our README, right? So this basically explains how to build everything, right? It doesn't, explain all the APIs and stuff like that, but it essentially describes to you how this code works and how you can run it potentially locally if you have a GCP account. But what I want to draw your attention to is the action items. So this weekend we accomplished this guy right here. So we converted our add user function to Python, and it works pretty well. We still need to do this. I think this is going to be on the list for next time. This is going to probably require us to create a whole new server, unfortunately. So we might not be able to shift over the network that this lives on, but we can just leave it in the default network. That's not like, a big deal, to be honest. I do want to convert all these JavaScript functions to Python. I might do that for next week as well. Monitoring and logging is something I really need to do some research on. Basically, so this is the hard part. I know how to do monitoring and logging for like a company, like an enterprise level company, but they use tools like, like Prometheus and Grafana, which cost money to run, obviously. They use like Splunk, which is extremely expensive, or the Elastic Stack, which is extremely expensive, right? So those are the tools I'm familiar with. I want to do like a lightweight, as free as possible version of that. I don't think I'll do alerting, but I just want to go over I might do Prometheus and Grafana, see if there's like an open source version of that, to essentially show you how to set up logging as far as that goes. And essentially what that is just to verify that everything with the server is correct, and we can set up like email alerts or something like that. And if something goes wrong with the server, we can essentially identify the root cause of what went wrong and like prevent that for next time, or build tools to help stop that, right? Some other things I want to do is figure out like a single sign-on. But again, I only know enterprise level things that cost money to run, and they're not cheap. So I'm trying to figure out maybe like Firebase auth. I was thinking that might be a thing, but we'd have to probably create a client for that. I don't know. We'll figure that out as we go. I think that would be cooler than running like a public function, where you can just have a single sign-on and it's tied to like your Gmail account or something. This definitely needs to happen. So automated backups, that's like that should actually be started from the very beginning, but that's not anything like detrimental. We can do that pretty easily. We're basically just take a volume snapshot and save the container volume that we're using. This, I don't know. So I put this on here because I really like Kubernetes, and I think it would be a good learning experience for both me and everyone watching this, right? The problem with that is GKE minimum server is like $146 a month, which, I mean, I can pay it, but it's kind of overkill for a Minecraft server. But what I could do is maybe run like a vanilla Kubernetes environment with just compute engine, right? But we'll see. I don't know. This is something we can do fairly quickly, is just migrate the Terraform state to a public, not a public GCS bucket, but something where like people can collaborate on, Terraform state if I give them access, right? So we accomplished our shutdown script and we converted this. So we checked two things off of our list right now. But yeah, so I'm going to push this code to GitHub, so this will be up to date. And then, if you're someone watching this and you want to contribute to it, just let me know. Open an issue on GitHub or something like that. That way, if you find a problem or want to fix something, I can actually look at that issue, and then we can like review, like if you have a pull request for it or whatever, we can review it live online, like on YouTube, and, kind of think through the problem and try to fix it. Or if you have a pull request, actually do a code review and merge it and see what it'll affect things. And then maybe we can set up like CI/CD pipelines for automating the deployment of this stuff. So that's kind of the direction I wanted to go with this series. It's not just to build a Minecraft server. It's to kind of like develop this into like a production level environment, right? So I thought it would be cool. I like Minecraft. Who doesn't like Minecraft? But anyways, with that being said, that's where we're at. Thank you for watching this point, if you watched this point, and I will see you guys next week with episode 3 and a little bit more improvements in the environment. Peace out, guys. Thanks.